Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. Welcome back. I'm so thrilled to have you here and to have Heidi McNulty. Let me read her bio. So just so that you know, in the podcast, we are going to be talking about wealth and fulfillment with a touch of storytelling. And I imagine you'll glean the reality that the journey to wealth and fulfillment has ebbs and flows and seasons and ups and downs, and it's very nonlinear. And Heidi,
Absolutely.
anything you want to add there, Heidi?
No, I think, it's definitely not linear and there's highs and lows and you got to just keep pushing.
Yeah, and you've had definitely extremes of both.
Yes.
So as we have this conversation, I'm sure that that will get unpacked. And so happy to have you here. So Heidi McNulty is a dynamic entrepreneur, investor, and advocate based in Utah. She and I are in a similar mastermind. It's called Breakthrough Mastermind. And so we've had some fun playing together over the last couple of years. She had a successful exit in 2022 and made her mark in real estate and technology sectors. Alongside her husband, who's a new husband that I'm sure will be part of the story, Heidi co-founded a holistic gym that integrates mind, body, and business principles, embodying her commitment to holistic wellness. Her forthcoming book, which we're going to be talking a lot about today, is called Buying Time. It reflects her passion for empowering young individuals with financial literacy, and she's dedicated to mentorship and community impact. Heidi strives to inspire positive change and holistic growth wherever she goes. And I'm so excited for those of you watching this real time in Facebook. Buying Time, the book, officially launches. When does it launch?
This week. It was supposed to be on Wednesday, but it had a couple delays. And so it's probably going to be Friday at this point.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll make sure, for those of you listening in the podcast, please just go into the show notes. You'll be able to find how to access her, the links to buy the book, all of that. And for those of you listening in Facebook, I'll make sure to go in and add it into the description once we're done with this live. So welcome, Heidi.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you.
So curious, for someone who is passionate about mentoring and helping others along their journey of wealth and fulfillment, there's got to be an origin story. There's got to be your own ebbs and flows and story that you want to tell, and that also led you to not only create wealth and fulfillment for yourself, but to then pay it forward and help others.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if we can just start with, where did this begin? Tell us a bit of your story.
So I think it kind of started when I was younger. I grew up in California and all my friends' parents had BMWs and Mercedes. And, we were a single income household. My parents are LDS. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom and my dad worked. And in Utah, that's a little more doable. In California, that's a lot harder to do because things are so expensive. So we always had a broken down car. My parents tried really hard to, always tell us yes and give us what we wanted and needed. But in the process, they were definitely living paycheck to paycheck and, constantly stressed financially. And so I knew from a pretty young age that I wanted to grow up and be successful financially, and really wanted to be a millionaire. And that was, my main goal. And as I got older, I ran into different obstacles, but as I reached, as I became a millionaire, I realized I still wasn't very happy. I still was, really hard on myself, very focused on what I wasn't doing or what I didn't have instead of focused in gratitude and love. And so I started a personal development journey at about 30 and really started diving into like what makes me happy, what rules do I have for me to be happy or for me to be successful or anything else. And so the book, originally I started the book to help young entrepreneurs and young people learn how to budget, learn financial literacy, and practice good hygiene so that they can be successful younger. And then my husband passed away. I was married for 15 and a half years, and my husband shot himself in front of me and our three kids.
Hmm.
And so,
Okay, just to take a pause there.
yeah,
Um, how does it feel? So that was 2 years ago? How long ago?
about 18 months ago.
18 months ago. How does it feel to say it out loud today?
Um, I it kind of goes into the story of the book as well. I feel like I'm very fortunate because I had retired and sold my company 2 months before he died. And I really had the means and the ability to just focus on healing. And, that was our only focus for the first 3 to 6 months. The first 2 months, there's a lot of tears, a lot of crying. And then as we work through it and work through the guilt, especially with suicide, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And where we were there was a lot of guilt of that we couldn't do better to prevent it. But we were really fortunate in the stance that like I had all day to work on myself. I had all day to focus on my kids and help them work through it and talk through it. Whereas, I have other widow friends who had to turn around and get three jobs and can barely make ends meet, let alone, focus on healing or focus on their kids healing.
Mm,
So I think that, that's kind of why I came up with the title Buying Time, because not only did I buy time to retire early, I bought time to heal when life flipped upside down.
yeah. Yeah. It's so fascinating. I always hear about the 3 Ds for women: divorce, disability, and death,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how those 3 Ds can end up putting often women, because well, I guess historically, more often than
Yeah.
not, it's not the woman that's the breadwinner. Although in today's age, there are a lot more women that are breadwinners. So I won't speak just to women, but in a marriage, in a coupled relationship, those 3 Ds can often end up being the rug being pulled out completely from under it. And of course, it was from an emotional standpoint, I'm imagining.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
how amazing that you had prepared yourself to have space
Yeah.
and time, because one of those D's showed up in your life unexpected. And I cannot even imagine what you and your children went through for the next and could continue to go through.
Yeah.
But so what I'm hearing is then for you to have the opportunity to gift it forward, so that if any other individual ends up being blindsided by one of those D's, death, disability, or um,
Of course.
divorce, thank you, that they're equipped and ready, at least from a logical standpoint and a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
And what did it look like? So if you said 3, 4, 5, up to 18 months to be able to just solely focus on your healing and your grief and your guilt, where did you go? Like, what did that look like for you?
So we definitely, me and the kids all went to counseling immediately. And then my husband now. I ended up meeting someone amazing and getting married pretty quickly. But he has been doing suicide prevention and depression, anxiety work with youth and adults for the last 14 years. So I was definitely able to open up with him and be really vulnerable and really work through those things together with his psychology background and really helped me at a deeper level.
Wow, I didn't know that part. So, okay, so then there was the suicide. Up to that point, you had already retired, you had created wealth.
Mhm.
There was this childhood of knowing that you wanted to become a millionaire, but then also realizing, oh gosh, I'm a millionaire and I'm still not happy.
Yeah,
So, how do I actually define happiness? How do I actually define safety? How do I actually define fulfillment?
yeah.
So, all of that was already churning for you.
Hmm.
And then there's suicide right in front of you and your children. And so you go along a journey of healing, and I'm sure there's, so much more to the story. And along that journey, you find your now husband.
Yes. Yeah, I had a really hard time trying to date because I got married when I met him when I was 19 and got married a month after my 20th birthday. And, you know, especially for teenagers, they're not meeting people on dating apps or things like that. And I had retired, so I wasn't working in an office to meet someone. So I did the
Mhm.
online dating thing, which I was really scared to do. And Rob had commented on one of my profiles. So sorry, I'll backtrack a little. So I was only on Bumble, which is the one where girls have to initiate contact. And I got a message from a medium online on Instagram just randomly that said I needed to think outside the box. Um, and I took that to mean dating because I was like, I don't know what else that would mean. So I signed up for Tinder, and that day Rob messaged me and I responded. And then he asked how tall I was, and I was like 5'8", and he's like, me too. And I was like, shoot. Because like in my searching, I was doing 6 foot and taller and this and that.
Right. What
And I
happens
was
when
like,
I'm in heels?
yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe this is what she means by think outside the box. Like, let's try it, let's go with it. And we met, and on the way there, he was like, meet me in the parking lot. And I called like 4 people, and I was like, okay, he's asking me to meet him in the parking lot. Like, if you don't hear from me in 15 minutes, I'm at this location.
Right,
Here's
right,
his
right, right.
name. I was super paranoid because I'm a paranoid person, anyways.
Hmm.
And then we met, and he was like, oh, I just wanted to pay for your parking. And I was like, oh, that was really nice. Like, I'm sorry, I thought the worst. And then we met, and we've been inseparable since. He's
Hmm.
so amazing. His profile is one of the reasons I responded to his comment. He's all about mental health and does suicide prevention, addiction recovery. We just opened a facility in West Jordan that is a mental health facility and gym. So we incorporate physical activity into their mental well-being, into their daily habits, and so that way we can make it a whole all around wellness instead of just one or the other.
Yeah. And how are the children? So I'm just thinking back through this like emotional upheaval
Mm-hmm.
and grief and regret and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, you went to counseling.
Mm-hmm.
What else did it look like for you and your children to build back up? And I don't know, I imagine there's fear of letting someone else in.
Yeah, my second son, he definitely struggled the most with letting Rob in. When Rob and I first met, we went and did like a little family retreat at a hotel nearby, and Cole didn't come. He was like, Mom, I'm not ready. And
Mhm.
Like even just seeing him hug you or kiss you like makes me so sad. And so I'm not ready. And so I think for us, we really focused on letting everyone heal in their time. So we didn't force Cole to come. We didn't force him to, do anything that he wasn't ready for. And for the first little bit, he really didn't talk to Rob much. Even when Rob moved in, Cole was still kind of taking it very slow. And now we've been together about a year now, and Cole wakes up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym to work out with Rob and get one-on-one time. And my kids, Cole and Caden, actually, my older two, go to the gym in the morning and Rob trains them. And then Miles is doing so good. Milesy, I think, my late husband, Rick, really loved Miles. Like he was so sweet with him, so tender. And he really wasn't a sweet or tender guy. He was military for 18 years. He was pretty, hardcore. But with Miles, he just had a very special, tender relationship. And so I think for Miles, it's probably been the biggest transition. We do family meetings, and that way everyone has the opportunity to like say how they're feeling and what went good in their week and what went not so good and what can we as parents do different or better to help them. And Miles was like, I really miss dad, and he's like, he plays Legos with me, and we're like, okay, we can play Legos with you, like we can help, and it's okay that you miss dad. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to have those feelings and to wish that he was here to play Legos with you. But if if us playing Legos with you will help you, we're happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Especially because it's swift to bring
Yeah.
in a new person and that nuance of dad's never going to be replaced
Yeah.
and you
And
still
we
get to
ask
feel.
each kid what they want that relationship to look like. So like Miles wants it to look like a dad relationship. Cole wants it to be kind of a dad, but kind of a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
or a coach, if you will. And Kaden, my oldest, just wants it to be like a friendship, uh, mentor type relationship. He's like, I
Mm-hmm.
had a dad. I don't need another dad. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's another thing that we've really focused on is letting them have the type of relationship that they need, to be whole, and that it's okay if it's different from kid to kid.
Yeah. How would you say you've changed? So there's a lot that has gone on in 18 months.
Yeah.
If
I
you look at Heidi today versus Heidi 18 months ago.
completely different person. And honestly, I'm really happy. It's a different person in all the best ways. 18 months ago, I was 35, running multiple multi-million dollar companies. I was in the process of selling my $30 million company. I was in charge of 450 employees just in one of the businesses, let alone the other three I was running. I
Oh
was
my goodness.
flipping 20 homes a year and had 86 rental properties, and just I was definitely a boss bitch. But for me, the key word there is bitch. Like I was very hard. I was very um like I had no empathy for anyone. And when people would come up with excuses why they couldn't succeed, it was like, well, I went to school for my master's degree, had two kids, had two jobs, and my husband was deployed. So if I can do it, you can do it. Like
Mm,
it was very like just bitchy. Like I just expected that everyone could do everything and that their excuses are the only reason they're not hitting it. Whereas now, um, I am extremely compassionate. I'm extremely empathetic. I definitely have learned to sympathize with everyone's, limits. And I still definitely believe that excuses limit your growth, but that force everyone has a story and everyone has a reason that that limit is there and that we need to work through it and not bulldoze our way through life.
Mm-hmm.
We used to joke that I was a bulldozer, and that if you were in my way, I'd just bulldoze you over. And I definitely don't take that approach anymore. I think I'm a lot more compassionate and a lot more, just a lot softer. And
Yeah.
I think the other reason that is, I had a really stressful home life and a really stressful work life. I had a lot of responsibility at work. I was working nonstop. I was really essentially working three full-time jobs. So I was working round the clock. Um, and then coming home to a husband who had PTSD really bad. He had multiple suicide attempts, multiple hospitalizations. Multiple times he would, put his gun to his head and I'd have to get the gun away. And I think I didn't realize how much that stressed me out and how much I was really in survival mode for so many years.
Mm.
And because my husband was so ill, I really had to be very masculine to survive. And now I don't live in my masculine energy. Rob is so masculine and so alpha, but in all the best ways, like very healthy masculine energy. And it allows me to live in my feminine energy. And it is so nice to be who I feel like my authentic self is. Like I definitely
Mm.
feel like I've been able to just be me and be
So
soft and
good.
be loving and be all the good things instead of having to be hard to kind of make it through the day.
Yeah. So, what are some examples when you say you can be fully embodied in your feminine energy? What are some
Um,
examples for the listeners that
it's,
go, what does that even look like? Especially, you're still a boss babe running very, very successful businesses, and
yeah,
there's still responsibility on your shoulders. What
yeah.
does that look like in just a
So
day-to-day little moments as well as more broad to be in your feminine energy?
probably the silliest one is that up until a year ago, I'd never had my meal paid for by a man.
Hmm.
I mean, even with my late husband, like I paid for our food on our first date. I paid for everything. I was always very like I can take care of myself. And now like Rob pays when we go out, like Rob pays for everything and opens my door. I never, been on dates where like the guy opens the door for you. And I think that was also the energy I was giving off wasn't feminine energy to allow them to want to open my door,
Right. So what
like
I'm hearing is you're allowing yourself to receive.
yeah, yeah, I definitely learned to receive. And Rob's great at giving. I think I was always a giver in the sense that like I would always pay for people. I would always, if I went to dinner with 10 people, I'd always take the tab and pay for everyone. But I never feel like I was taken care of. Um,
Mm.
and so I've really learned to be taken care of and it feels so good.
Yeah. So allowing yourself to receive, allowing yourself to be taken care of, allowing yourself to choose a man who is in his mature masculine and loves to give.
Yeah.
Any other examples of how it shows up for you to be in your feminine energy? Like, I imagine more feeling, more intuition, more flow, more fluidity in your schedule, more listening inside. Is any of that happening for you?
Yeah, for sure. All of it. I think another example is like, um, and it's funny because like I see it in Rob. I see the masculine side where, things are on a schedule and things have to be perfect and things, I totally used to be like that. Like I was very, in my opinion, very rigid.
Hmm.
And now I'm like, oh, it's fine. We can do this. Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. Like
Hmm.
I'm very just like easygoing and
Hmm.
able to go with the flow instead of being so rigid and overly structured.
Yeah, yeah. And I love it. It's so good. And I imagine like where you started with, I knew I wanted to be a millionaire, and then I became a millionaire, and I realized I still don't feel happy, and I imagine I still don't feel safe, and I still don't actually love myself or allow myself to receive.
Yeah,
And then there's suicide and death. And now here's Heidi, version 2024. Would you say that you're happy now?
absolutely. I've never been this happy in my life. Like
Mm-hmm.
I really can't remember a time in my life where I was this happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I even myself, like I struggled with suicidal ideation for years. Every year on my birthday, it was like, oh, like I'm not a millionaire. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not this enough. I'm too big. I'm not skinny enough. Like I was really, really hard on myself. And that was the other reason why, like, once I became a millionaire, I was like, wait, I still don't feel like I'm enough. Like, I still don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm skinny enough. I still don't feel like I'm this. And I I'm so happy now. Like I love my body. I work out every morning, Monday through Friday at 5:30 in the morning. I get enough sleep. I eat good. I My husband treats me so well. We have amazing kids that have been through a lot and have come out just amazing. Like my oldest son, I'm going to brag for a minute. He is 17. He has straight A's. He has all the AP classes you can take, every single one of them. The tests that he's taken so far, he got a 5 on all of them, which is really like high score. That's not very common.
Mm-hmm.
He took the ASVAB because he wants to go into the military and he wants to go to West Point and be a mechanical engineer and a weapons engineer. He's going to double major in 4 years. But he took the ASVAB test, which is kind of like a military competency test, and he got the highest score possible. And so I'm just like,
Wow.
I'm so proud of my kids. Like my second son, he used to struggle so bad in school. He has all A's and B's and like is doing it himself. I don't have to check on him. He's just like managing himself. And so I think all things considered, like my kids are doing so good and they're happy. Like they're smiley. If they are having a rough time or are having emotional days, like we talk about it. It's not off the table. It's absolutely okay for them to miss dad or be overwhelmed or whatever emotions they're feeling. We work through it. And I think that's probably the thing that makes me the happiest as a mom is that we're able to do all of this together.
I love it. Um, yeah, and I'm thrilled for what comes next, and the vision and the hope that gets to reveal itself, and how amazing when it comes to money as an example. It's really just um, how we identify it or
Mhm.
what meaning we give it.
Right.
And sometimes someone might think, oh, once I have all these degrees, once I have my straight A's, the meaning I give it is it's going to make me happy. Once I have a happy marriage, once I have all the money, once I'm this weight, I give it this meaning and significance of then I'll feel worthy, then I'll feel safe, then I'll feel
Happy
happy.
when.
Yeah. And you're able to go, oh, I checked all those things off the box. But each time it brings me back to my center of, well, what is it that actually brings me joy and safety and fulfillment and worthiness to be able to be in full receivership and drop into my feminine? So good.
Yeah.
Um, I want to make sure that we also talk about Buying Time as a book. So congratulations, it's coming out this week. For those of you that are listening in the podcast, it will have already had its big debut, and we'll make sure to have the show notes in there. Can you just give some snippets? Like if you were to say the three things that you think are the most potent aspects of Buying Time for those that might want to read it.
Yeah. If it's okay, I'm going to backtrack a little on like my motivation for writing the book.
Yeah, yeah.
So always, I always joked that when I retire, I'm going to teach financial literacy in high schools. And it was kind of like a joke that that was going to be my retirement project. And then when I retired at 35, I was like, oh, shoot, like that's now. So I started writing the book simply as a financial literacy tool that we could implement in high schools. I think that the unfortunate thing about today's society is that many adults are not financially literate. And because they're not, they're financially unstable, which is the leading cause of divorce. It's the leading cause of domestic violence. It's the leading cause of, child abuse is financial stress. And I think that we're really getting the worst version of a lot of people because of that stress. And so my goal is to teach it to the youth because it's not taught in schools. We're expecting parents to teach it to the kids, but they don't know it themselves to be able to teach it. And the
Mhm.
schools aren't teaching it. So I really want to create a curriculum for youth to learn financial literacy, to learn how to budget, to learn what a credit score is, learn how ways to invest, and really help change society, so that there aren't as many people financially stressed and we get a better version of those people.
So good. It reminds me, I've followed this guy's named Stephen Ritz, and he runs the Green Bronx Machine and does amazing work with schools. And I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something like, it's easier to raise loving men or raise loving boys than it is to fix broken men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if we can go to the origin and early on, um, and financial literacy, what does that mean for you? So yes, credit score, but I imagine the overuse of credit cards,
Yeah, really budgeting, living
budgeting.
within your means, living, in my book I talk about starting out, and the reason I target young people is because it's a lot easier to start with a clean slate in finances than it is to start upside down. Many people are house poor, yes, they own a home, that's great, but the home is more than 50% of their income, which is really hard. And when you already have a house, I think it's a lot harder to downsize your house or move to a less desirable neighborhood so that you can afford it and make some good financial gains than it is to just start off fresh.
Mm,
And, for your first house, you buy a townhouse or you buy a condo instead and work your way up.
mhm.
So that's kind of why I started at the youth age. My ideal person I'm thinking is 15 to 25, just getting out on their own, starting their own, buying their first house, things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And so I think Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover. How is this similar to Dave Ramsey, different than Dave Ramsey?
it's all about financial hygiene. I would say one of the major differences between me and Ramsey is that he's pretty against even like mortgages and car loans and thinks that, everything should be paid for in cash. I definitely think that you can leverage the bank's money and make more money.
Hmm.
And so that's talked about in my book as well, that there's good debt and there's bad debt. Credit card debt is absolutely bad debt. You're spending above your means. It's not a good way to live your life. And if you do choose to use credit cards, you need to make sure that that money's in your checking account so that you can pay it off
Hmm.
immediately and only be using the credit card to gain credit for your credit score and to gain points through your credit card.
Hmm.
Um,
And so individuals 15 to 25, are do you think you're speaking to the individuals that think that they have more of an entrepreneurial spirit? Like I'm thinking Michael Michalowicz and Profit First, or this is for anyone just pure essential
Yeah, it's for
budgeting?
anyone, pure
Yeah.
essential budgeting. I
Yeah.
created a workbook that goes along with the book and after chapter exercises so that you can actually implement what I'm teaching. You can do your own budget. There's a step-by-step process on how to create the budget, how to analyze the budget, what the numbers mean, where you could cut back. A great example is, I've done budgeting with several people and everyone always thinks they spend $500 on fast food each month. And I've only done the budget with one person out of over 50 that actually spent less than $1,000. Everyone else spent, $1,200, $1,500 on fast food alone, and they are living paycheck to paycheck thinking that they don't have any extra money, when in actuality they could go to the grocery store and meal prep, which is healthier as well, and save $1,000 a month. And if you can put $1,000 a month away and invest it, you can do amazing things for yourself just in a short 10 years.
So good. Curious, because my work often falls in the coaching industry. And there are so many coaches out there that will say things like, take on the debt, hire me, put it on your credit card because
Yeah.
you're investing in yourself and you're going to Forex it because you're going to up level who you be. I'm
Yeah.
curious, what are your thoughts for an individual who is looking for support? Like, let's say they want to hire you.
I
And yeah,
definitely would never have them put money on a credit card. If they
yeah,
can't afford it, then they need to budget. And um, I think for me, I'm not in a place where my coaching is, really to support my life. I'm not looking for the financial part of it. It's more for helping people.
hmm,
And so I think I definitely would probably help them budget and figure out how they could save money and then pay for coaching.
yeah. It's such a fine line because it's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
If if they stretch a little bit and hire you or another coach that then gives them the skill set and the internal confidence and the strength and helps them address their exhaustion or their sleep or all the things that are getting in the way, that's good, then going to help them budget and help them propel forward.
Yeah.
And but then on the flip side, if they can't afford it and they get stuck in this eddy and they don't feel confident, they don't know where to go, they don't take steps, they feel too exhausted, then
Yeah.
maybe they don't make any progress at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see where you're coming from. I think that um, there's, I think it really is a case by case situation because I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's people that have the potential to make a lot more money if they had the right tools. And in that situation, it might be worth it to put it on a credit card with a set budget to pay it off in X amount of weeks. I think for other people that, really are hitting their potential, and don't have much room for growth, say they're in a 9 to 5 and the only opportunity for growth and they don't want to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
I think that's definitely different and they need to learn to live within their means,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the path that they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and not everyone, I wouldn't say they don't have what it takes, but it doesn't fulfill them to not have the 9 to 5 stability.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the risk is a little too much for them emotionally. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think for those people, it's definitely a different approach. When it comes to like budgeting or coaching them on their finances and investments, it's definitely a
Yeah.
different approach.
Right. But what I'm hearing is for the individual who does have the entrepreneurial spirit, who does have a track record of forexing their investment when they invest in themselves,
Yeah.
there's a little bit more wiggle room to stretch the investment when they're investing in themselves, and they know that over time that will always pay off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
I would definitely agree with that with that type of individual, which
Hmm.
um I think there's coaching for everyone.
Hmm.
Everyone can grow in different ways. Entrepreneurs, I think, definitely have more pressure to grow and forex their investments because, there's lots of people that depend on us as entrepreneurs. There's, for example, at my old company, like 450 employees. If I wasn't on my A game, those people might have not been able to pay their bills that month,
Right.
and
Right.
so I think it's a lot more pressure and a lot more stress when you're dealing with entrepreneurs for them to be at on their A game.
Hmm. Any other nuggets that you want to share that someone's going to find if they read buying time?
Yeah, so sorry, I kind of got off track earlier, but I started the book for it to be financial literacy. And then my husband passed away and I put the book on hold, and kind of decided that and really revamped my entire plan, that mental health needed to be a topic in the book as well, because you can be rich and not happy, or you can be happy and not rich. And I really wanted it to be a book about both. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted people to be able to build wealth and fulfillment and be happy with themselves. So there's a lot of mental health practices in the book, um, uh, talking about values and rules that you've created for yourself. I've done a lot of personal development training, Tony Robbins, Tony Child, I love that stuff. And so I put some nuggets in there, when it comes to mental health and practicing gratitude and practicing, all of these things that help keep a healthy mind so that your money can grow and you're happy.
Mm-hmm. So good. And talking about feminine energy, what coaches have you hired that are women and exist in their feminine energy to help you along your journey, or have you yet?
I have not yet. I have most of my coaches and honestly, I haven't really hired any coaches since my husband died.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really focused on building my businesses, or like that's not been my main goal over the last 18 months. My main goal has been more supporting my husband in his endeavors and helping my kids and spending time with my kids, because
Yeah,
for
yeah,
so
yeah.
many years I was working. When I was working nonstop, I had multiple coaches. I had a fitness coach, I had a mindset coach, I had a business coach, I had a real estate coach, and all of them were very alpha male.
Mm.
And I think uh, I'm probably at a point in my life where a feminine coach would be great.
Yeah, right. And who knows, maybe it's a feminine coach in business or in personal development, mindset, sexuality, your fitness, who knows, but it sounds like that's definitely a part of your journey and I'm here cheering you on and looking forward to seeing where you take that. Anything else you'd like to add that feels unfinished? We're just about at time. And anything you want to say to those that are watching or listening?
I think the biggest thing that I want is for people to understand that they have control over their life. I think very often we fall victim to life's circumstances, and that that's a choice. You can
Mm.
choose to fall victim to life circumstances, or you can choose to dig your way out, one step at a time. And my hope for people is that the book will help give them some tools to build their own empire of success and happiness, and take baby steps, each day with some healthy practices, both financially and emotionally.
Yeah, I love it. So we get to have wealth and feel confident with who we see in the mirror
Mhm,
and attract loving relationships
mhm.
and feel totally present and happy and allow ourselves to feel while generating income. And so my hope for you and is that your financial empire continues to grow, but you get to do it in a more flowing and feminine way and then set that example and happy
Yeah.
and worthy and with
Yep.
self-love and in the energy of receivership. I'm so excited for you and I'm so grateful that you've created this resource for young individuals. And I imagine any individual, even
Yeah, it will
beyond age
definitely help other
25.
people as well. They just might have to scale back their current, living
Hmm.
situation so that they can really prioritize the long term. The book talks a lot about delayed gratification. Um,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of the time, even in diet, we eat what we want to eat right now with no regard to what that's going to do to our body long term.
Hmm.
And we want this $10 shirt, so we buy the $10 shirt even though we have 50 other shirts at home, or shoes or purses, and we don't take into account the long-term effect of $10 here, $10 there. one bite here, an extra 100 calories here. All of that adds up and affects us emotionally. It affects us physically. It
Mm.
affects how many years we have to be in the workforce. I don't want people to have to work till they're 65. I want them
Yeah.
to be able to enjoy life and see their kids and grandkids grow up and, you know, just be happier and healthier and do what
Yeah.
makes them happy instead of stuck in a rat race.
So good. I'm even as you were saying, it's also, I imagine, the one more saying yes. Like how many, I work mainly with female entrepreneurs and, so often they're saying yes, they're saying yes, they're in the service mentality.
Mhm.
And then it ends up where their own personal time ends up being completely depleted. And they
Mhm.
feel like I'm chasing my tail and I don't have time for me
Well, I think
versus
a lot of
going,
times
okay,
society makes self-care seem selfish, and
right.
it's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. So just like watching the calories here or not buying the extra shirt or taking a pause before going through a Starbucks line, we can also do the same thing with our time and energy expenditure
Mhm.
to go, okay, where am I, can I stop the social media scroll a little bit sooner? Can
Yeah.
I turn the news off? Can I say no to one more thing rather than saying yes? Can I hire someone? Can I ask someone for help to do the carpool for my kids, whatever it may be, so that I'm keeping the reserves and actually creating space and time for me to fill up. Not
Yeah.
only fill up finances, but fill up fulfillment and
Yeah.
joy and time for
Yeah.
self-care. So good. Thank you so much, Heidi, for everything
Yeah.
that you do.
Thank you for
All
having me.
right. To all the listeners, make sure you check the show notes. We'll have the link to the book. Sounds like a great book as a gift and sounds like a great book to purchase for yourself. And Heidi, thanks for what you do.
Thank you.